Hey everyone, today we are going to explore the world of Five Nights at Joseph's. But first, let me introduce you to the story of Five Nights at Joseph's. Five Nights at Joseph's is a horror franchise I created all by myself back in 2011. Since then, there has been 43 attached chapters to the franchise, with the most recent chapter of the franchise being released, which is the 40th chapter of the franchise. The chapters have been running on for quite some time, running from 2011 to very present day, and are still going very successful to this very moment, with 3 more chapters left to be created and released very soon. And now to the exploration of the franchise. Five Nights at Joseph's story starts in a town known as Schwerzgern, which is southwest of my imaginary world known as Tennersville. That's where the story is set. The story goes that Schwerzgern Council wants to build an Italian restaurant, but the members of the public that live in Schwerzgern just don't like that idea and just want it not to happen. They don't want this Italian restaurant to get built. So everything ends up going into a massive formation of conflict. So to try fight away this conflict, one of the councillors decides to ask their friend, which is a mechanic, to build some formation of equipment that they can use to help fight. So this mechanic guy, ends up inventing and creating robots, animatronics, that end up in this fight trying to complete the conflict and deal with it so that everything could be quietened out. Of course, the animatronics and the council ended up officially being the winners of the conflict, eventually after members of Schwerzgern's public decided we've had enough. And the story starts there, with then the Italian restaurant being built. It took a while for it to be built, but eventually the grand opening came along and things were very successful. All with the idea that the mechanic bringing in the robots as entertainment would work very well with the restaurant. Obviously, there was a bit of damage to the robots done during the fight, so the mechanic was pretty easy to solve that and fix the issues, and then those robots were transferred and put into the restaurant as entertainment systems. So these animatronics were there for entertainment, and the restaurant was all really good. Full to the brim, amazing vibes, perfect restaurant. Brilliant. Everything was going so well and so successful for this place until one person in particular wanted to cause damage to the restaurant after its build. This one member of the Schwerzgern public wanted the restaurant to get taken away, shut down, and destroyed. So, in mind, they decided that they wanted to set fire to the restaurant just to try end it all. Well, that ended up happening, but in a very strange way. So the guy's idea was to spread petrol around the area and then get pieces of paper and stuff to try fuel the fire and let it spread. But it turns out that that wasn't going to be the way round. Instead, there was a gas leak in the local area surrounding the restaurant, and this gas leak is what caused the fire to head into massive flames. So it ended up in huge flames, and the restaurant was destroyed. And of course, the robots weren't very good either after the fire had occurred. And it literally got all of the news. It literally went everywhere that the restaurant that was doing so well had got into flames, and some other places were in flames as well. So, in mind, of course, the council were trying to help give money and help people out by trying to rebuild the town bits that got damaged in the fire and the gas leaks. And that happened. It all happened. But it took much longer for the restaurant to try be reborn again. You see, it would take a few months for them then to plan out and redesign and create a brand new restaurant. Rather than being a full-fledged Italian restaurant selling all sorts of different formations of Italian foods, they decided that they would just focus on one Italian formation of cuisine, a pizza. Hence, they turned this place into a pizzeria. And the rest was history. The pizzeria was absolutely born. And the robots from the same mechanic were rebuilt, redesigned, and set as entertainers of this place just because they were done really well the first time, and that continued to be successful. But this really awful guy tends to be some form of friend of this mechanic and wanted to build their own formations of restaurants with robots in it. Which is why the damage was trying to go ahead, because this guy was jealous. So one night, it was the main mechanic that made Joseph and stuff. It was his daughter's birthday. And turns out the guy that had caused the fire prior decided it would be fun during the night to sneak into the place. And of course, this was just as everyone was getting ready to clear up from the party and, go home after celebration of the birthday. So it was just the guy and the kid. The kid decided that they would go to the bathroom or to the toilets, to do their normal toilet duty. So they did just that, and they saw what they thought was one of the robots on the loose walking around in the facility. But it seemed like the robot was able to try attract this girl to follow them into one of the staff rooms, where this girl would end up being killed, being murdered. And of course, all this news ended up spreading. Things started to get a little bit bad. The busyness of the restaurant slowly started to head down. But things weren't going to end just yet. The restaurant remained open. It was still getting enough profit. And they decided to enhance the build again to try and expand things, because it was a little bit small and it was still pretty popular at the time, giving more further travellers a chance to come in and eat as well, so that their name could be spread out a little bit further, which managed to go ahead, and business was running with positive vibes, really well built restaurant, really good place. But still lingering in there was this guy murdering this kid. But this guy didn't think to end it there. He ended up bringing a whole bunch more kids into a massive murdering spree. So this guy had killed a bunch more kids. And of course, yes, it went across the news, until it was told from Schwerzgen's council that the restaurant must close down immediately. So it was closed. However, this jealous guy managed to find a way to build his own robots. 2 of his own robots, in fact. And just for the sake of it, this guy decided to steal 2 of the robots from this pizzeria, Joseph and Craig. So that happened, and they went into a different location. Turns out this jealous guy was actually the mechanic's brother. That's where things go bad. So it turns out the mechanic's brother was actually the killer. So obviously he didn't like that, but he couldn't really control much. So they ended up being in a different location that he called the brother location. And that all happened. Not long after that, well, after all the investigations, obviously not really much was known about it, so everything was forgotten. So the council's idea was then to knock down the restaurant and rebuild it into something new. So they did just that. Rebuilt the restaurant, made it look better, made it look fresh, advertised it as completely clean for everyone else, absolutely lovable, and everything went into absolute gorgeousness. Things were going really well, doing really good. But then this bad guy decides to set fire to the restaurant once again, and the restaurant got damaged. So in the meantime, the robots will be placed into a museum as forms of memories. However, it turns out that these robots wouldn't be there forever, as the creator of them found out that they were in this museum and decided to sneak them out eventually. So that happened. They got taken out. A completely new restaurant got rebuilt, and things went really, really well. Successful for a few years. And then another fire spread, but this time it wasn't the guy that was in jealousy and wanted to kill people. Instead, it was actually a little bit of a forest fire nearby that caused this issue to spread to different local places. That also included the restaurant. And things ended there. Months and years passed and nothing was heard about this restaurant. Until eventually, one year, things slowly started to just fly back up a bit. Just a little bit more. Gained a little bit more attention. Although they had all these murders behind them, all these fires flying around, well, it wasn't quite over yet for this restaurant. It was rebuilt, reborn, with a brand new look to Joseph and everyone else, robot-wise, and a completely new look to the restaurant, which is how it stands in Five Nights at Joseph's Reborn, or Five Nights at Joseph's 37. So we're up to 37 now. So obviously everything went well, and everything was reborn. However, one night, the jealous guy finds a way to sneak into the new restaurant. And they had their own laptop and decide that they would hack into all the robots' codes and turn them on a more twisted side, letting them get a rebellion and wanted to rebel against people that hurt them prior. So a giant murder spree started to go ahead. In the middle of the night, some of the kids would be drawn into a staff room, getting murdered, getting killed. And that happened quite a lot of times. These kids would get killed by the robots, but this time it was the real robots. And that kept going and going. All this seemed to be within a rebellion, but nothing would end. Even to the point that during the entirety of the series, there was one person in the team, the security guard of the restaurant, that was in the middle of these problems, and even the robots didn't like this security guard at all from the very moment the restaurant first ever opened. It seemed like it was mainly due to the scent at first, with the security guard smelling like food, extremely foody, smelling like cheese and onion. So, of course, the robots called the security guard cheese and onion for some reason, even though that's not the proper name of the security guard. But anyway, the security guard was stuck in the middle of all the issues during the entirety, from the first opening to the fires to the murders to the museum and back to the restaurants, and even got stuck in the rebellion. And then this rebellion has caused a massive issue for security of the restaurant, which is how things are standing right now. So straight into 40 now, the 40th chapter. So things are all over the council's security grids, meaning that obviously there was a few breaches of the security within this place. And of course, you're darn right, it continues to head on. And the story continues. Anyway, so that happens, it occurs, everything's good. Also, they think. So the rebellion's on, security has been breached from the council, has been alerted about these security issues. So they start heading into investigations, find out all about these killings. Some more killings get taken in as well during the event too, and that's where things are as of right now. That's just a basic brief build of where things are with Five Nights at Joseph's, and that leads us up to this very moment where we are now, chapter 40. So hopefully that will now lead you up to date. So, how it all started, let me just quickly recap you now. So it started in a place, in a town. The town was in conflict with public because they didn't want an Italian restaurant. The Italian restaurant stayed open, was doing really good, got burnt down, rebuilt, opens again, murders occur, keeps living, shuts down, opens, closes, into a different location, so on and so forth. That's basically it. You get the gist. That's basically Five Nights at Joseph's in a pretty big explanation. So now that will keep you up to date with everything about Five Nights at Joseph's, which leads you all the way up to chapter 40, which is where we are right now, which is the whole security breach thing with the council. That bit. Either way, that's it for Five Nights at Joseph's exploration video. I will be back with more Five Nights at Joseph's, this time with an actual audiobook, and this will be officially the 41st chapter. So chapter 41 will be the next part of Five Nights at Joseph's that you will hear on this channel. So stay tuned for that. That will come out next year. So yeah, just keep your eye on it. See you all in the next video. Bye.